So let's talk about daily affirmations. Those positive statements you're supposed to repeat to yourself. We're going to get into it, but probably not in the way you're thinking. We're going to peel back that pop culture layer and see what the actual science says about the way we talk to ourselves and if it can really truly make a difference.
I mean, come on, you know this one, right? Stuart Smalley from Saturday Night Live. For a whole lot of us, this is the first thing that pops into our heads when we hear affirmations. It's kind of goofy, maybe a little bit cringy, and honestly, it's the perfect, slightly skeptical place for us to start.
But that's the big question we're digging into today, isn't it? Is this whole thing just a punchline? Or is there something real happening here? Can the words you say to yourself in the mirror actually change your brain and, your life? Let's find out.
Okay, so first things first, we've got to move beyond just thinking of this as a simple mantra you chant. We're going to explore the surprising reality behind self-affirmation, and it turns out it all starts with a problem that feels very, very modern.
And here is that problem. Look at this number. Almost 79% of professionals feel stressed out at work. That is a lot. And with stats like that, it's no surprise people are searching for any tool they can find to get a handle on their mental well-being. It totally explains why affirmations have gotten so popular. The need is definitely there.
And you know what? It turns out the science is there too. Studies have actually linked self-affirmation to some seriously tangible benefits. We're talking about everything from lowering stress and getting more done to making healthier choices and even doing better in school. The point is, this isn't just wishful thinking. There's real credible research backing this stuff up.
Okay, so we know they can work. But the big question is, how? How does saying something nice to yourself actually do anything? To get that, we need to look under the hood at the science of what's happening inside your brain. We're moving from the what to the why.
So the first big idea you need to know is called neuroplasticity. It sounds complicated, but it's basically your brain's amazing ability to change and rewire itself. Think of it like this. Your thoughts are like paths in a forest. The more you walk down a certain path, the clearer and easier it gets to follow. Well, when you consistently focus on positive, affirming thoughts, you're literally carving out and strengthening those neural pathways, making that way of thinking more of a default.
And the second piece of this puzzle is something called self-affirmation theory. At our core, all of us are wired to want to see ourselves as good, capable people. So when something happens that threatens that view, maybe you get some harsh feedback at work or you bomb a test, it really stings. Well, affirmations act like a psychological shield. By reminding yourself of your core values, like, I'm a really loyal friend, you protect your overall sense of self-worth from that one specific threat.
And this is the coolest part. Research shows that positive self-talk can actually flip on your brain's reward system. We're talking about the same system that lights up when you eat a delicious piece of cake or get a paycheck. It literally triggers the pleasure centers in your brain, which can help quiet down your internal stress alarm. How wild is that?
But it's not quite that simple. Of course not, right? There is a catch, a really, really important one. And we have to talk about when this powerful tool can actually blow up in your face.
Because here's the honest truth. Positive affirmations don't work for everybody all the time. In fact, for some people, especially if they're already struggling with their self-worth, repeating these statements can actually make them feel worse.
And this right here, this explains why. If you already have pretty high self-esteem, saying something positive might give you a nice little mood boost. No big deal. But if you have low self-esteem, and you're trying to force yourself to say, I am a huge success, when you feel like a total failure, your brain just screams liar. It highlights that painful gap between where you are and where you want to be, and it can make you feel even more down. And look, this isn't just a theory. A huge review of 144 different studies found the average effect was 0.41. Now, in science speak, that's called a small but significant effect. So it's real, it does something, but it is not a magic wand. What this really tells us is that to get those benefits, your technique matters a lot.
So if there's a wrong way that can make things worse, what's the right way? Let's break down exactly how to make affirmations a tool that actually works for you instead of against you.
The first big change is to stop with the super vague, over-the-top praise like, I am a total success. It's just too big, and for most of us, it feels fake. A much better approach is to focus on your core values. Affirming something you know deep down is true about you, like being a good friend is really important to me. That gives you a solid, real anchor for your self-worth that isn't so easily shaken.
The next big shift is about your mindset. When you say, I am confident, that's a fixed statement. So what happens when you have one moment of self-doubt? The whole thing feels like a lie and just falls apart. A growth mindset approach is way more powerful.
Think I can statements. I can learn new things, or I can change. It focuses on your potential, on the journey, and that is so much more believable and durable, especially when you hit a bump in the road.
So to kind of wrap all this up, here are the golden rules. Keep your affirmations in the present tense. Frame them positively. But here's the big one. They have to be believable to you. That's non-negotiable. Try to connect them to what you actually do, and please be consistent and patient. You are literally rewiring your brain. That's not going to happen overnight.
All right, we've gone through the what, the why, and the how-to. So for this last part, let's get super practical. Here is a simple guide to actually building your own affirmation practice that works.
This 4-step process is a fantastic way to start. First, just think about your core values. What's truly important to you? Second, write a short, positive sentence about one of them. Now, step 3 is my favorite tip. Rate that statement on a scale of 0 to 100 on how much you actually believe it. If it's, say, under a 50, tweak the wording. So maybe I am capable becomes I am working toward believing in my capabilities. See the difference? And finally, step 4. Do it consistently. That is the secret sauce that makes it stick.
When you boil it all down, what we're left with is this. The conversation you have with yourself inside your own head is one of the most important conversations you will ever have. It is actively shaping your brain and how you see the world. The science shows us a way to make that inner dialogue more helpful and more supportive. So really, the only question left is, what are you going to choose to say?